Get them on. Get them on before they come in and they know what you're doing. It's all a clever ruse. All right. Well, this is our witty banter section.
You know, if I hold these sunglasses up to my face, I can hear the ocean.
I figured you could hear like
They still smell like suntan lotion.
I assume if you hold them up to your ear, you just hear the Power Rangers theme song. Just a 3.5 minute guitar solo.
just arpeggios just going. Oh man. Yeah, dude. Just feels good to be back, but man, I'm not here. Mentally I'm still at the beach, bro.
I mean, you look.
Oh, this is the podcast shirt now.
Okay. This is your deal now.
This shirt's I'm gonna wear holes into this shirt wearing it so much for this podcast. It's gonna smell like beer and suntan lotion.
It's gonna get like the pit, like the pit juices are gonna
just eat away
at that. Oh.
It'll become a sleeveless shirt then.
Okay.
I'll hang out with while I'm Paul-Pack Brewing.
There you go. You hang out with Logan.
Yeah.
Oh my god. All right. There's nobody in here, but you know, we'll we got one.
I saved all that great banter for this.
All that great
I know.
All that great banter.
All that vacation talk leading up to like one person coming into the chat.
All right, let's get started with this, John.
Take your time, bro. The end of the song. I like to think it's like an electric sax. Hey, and then I want to see what an electric
congratulations to whoever popped on right as we started the intro. Just some fine timing.
Just right as the intro.
Just real fine timing. All right, let's get this thing going audio wise. Hey, audio listeners.
Is it on?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah, we're live.
Nice.
Live. All right, everybody. Hey, welcome back. Another week. Yeah. We got another brewer on.
I know.
With 3 weeks in a row?
3 weeks in a row.
3 weeks. Wow.
We're 3 weeks in a row?
3 weeks in a row. 3 weeks. Oh.
Don't do that.
Getting canceled. Yeah, we're back to our old ways.
The old shtick. The old
We've run out
song and dance.
We've run out of things to talk about with each other, so we need somebody to fill the gaps.
we really just started hating each other.
we're an old married couple.
We're roommates again. Yeah. We're bitching at each other for not doing the dishes.
I've heard this story already. All right, everybody, welcome back. Welcome back to the greatest podcast to exist in the history of podcasts. It's the internationally acclaimed, Cindy Crawford approved podcast of hops, high fives. Oh, feels so right.
Hell yeah.
And friendship. I am your host, the crispiest of boys, the Sultan of Swag. Yeah, that's the one.
There it is, Tom.
King of the Crunk. Sultan of Swag.
King of the Crunk.
Everything. It's Tom. I'm gonna pass it over to my partner here, Sir Thomas Bahama.
Sir Thomas Bahama. Yeah, this is the Hop Master General, the parrot head of the podcast. Ooh. Apparently,
I don't have that drop.
I know.
If you like pink wanna
the Royersford Rattlesnake. Hell yeah!
Hell yeah!
It's Dan.
Oh man, I have a very nondescript silver can in our backlog of untapped photos there. The graveyard, as I call it. I could have tossed it to you. Damn it. Anyway, all right.
Do you know what was in the can?
Yeah, it was Volstead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you just forgot what it was. Like, I don't know what it is.
No,
it's been so long.
An unlabeled 12-ounce can. It only really could be one thing.
Yeah.
All right, guys, welcome back for another week. I came in all jacked up, and I got home and I was all jacked up, and then I was running around with like a chicken with its head cut off.
I feel like you might have slowed yourself down by just pounding like an entire serving of Stouffer's macaroni and cheese before the podcast.
Come on, bro. Don't put me down with Stouffer's. That was TJ's.
Okay, sorry. TJ's macaroni and cheese.
Didn't even taste it.
Didn't even taste it.
I ate it like a duck. I didn't even chew.
Dude,
just right down the gullet.
You slammed what looked like to be like, you know, that same container that like a pound of ground beef comes in, but it was macaroni and cheese. Just pounded it before.
Yeah,
this.
No
wonder you're not hyped anymore.
I am getting a little sleepy.
Just sunk to you like just sticking to your guts like a stone.
I needed something to coat the old gullet and help not be completely hammered after this episode.
It's not like you have to drive anywhere.
But though, I still have to get up in the morning and try and not be
still
hungover.
have to be a functioning human being.
It's called efficiency, Dan. I ate it military style.
Honestly, I was a little uncomfortable with how fast you're eating it.
I ate it like Major Payne.
I didn't want to get any of my hands near it.
Oh yeah, no, that would have been dangerous. Would not recommend. So guys, you know what it is. Come on. Do we have to? Oh boy, what's going on over there?
I don't know.
Okay. Nobody knows except for us. It's all right.
We'll see what's happening.
Yeah. All right, guys. It's the you know what it is. The late. I don't know if we can keep doing this.
Why? You feel like you're peaking right now? You feel like you've hit the top of the mountain?
No. There's still a good climb to go.
I know.
But we keep getting copyright strikes.
We got another one?
Yeah. So we're muted. Well, Facebook, Zuckerdroid, shut us down in several countries. I guess it's fine here.
Okay.
And all they do is they mute the 20 seconds of audio that we use.
Okay, so it's the 20 seconds of audio.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, but it's annoying.
Ghana, we're sorry. This is why we're dropping in the ranks in craft beer podcast in Ghana.
No, we're out in Ghana. Yes, Ghana is lost. Ghana has been lost, but we've taken a new stronghold in Nigeria.
Oh, nice.
Yes, Nigeria has come along. Really nice for us. They're really digging it. I'm assuming their friends in Ghana told them about it, and they just passed the torch over to Nigeria. But yeah,
sweet. Right.
But yeah, guys, don't watch on Facebook. Watch on YouTube or Twitch.
Where we don't get copyright strikes.
Exactly. Yeah, they leave us up the whole time. So
screw you, Zuckerberg.
Yeah, screw you, Zuckerberg.
We're sorry. Please continue to play our stream tonight.
But either way, guys, it's the year of the late 90s, early 2000s hip hop. I don't know. We've had an alarming lack of female artists represented in this year. So I dug deep. Didn't really have to dig deep because this is one of the best songs of the year.
Late 90s, early 2000s. I feel like you got a plethora of artists. So
all right, guys, this is the best friends podcast in the world, and the show starts now.
I can't stand her. It's my window.
Yo, is that Timbaland in the background?
Who got the keys to the
It's
Jeep?
Missy Misdemeanor. Of course, it's Timbaland in the background.
Top down,
Timbaland.
loud sound, see my peeps. Give them pounds now. Look who it be. It be me, and Timothy.
Timothy. So you didn't know Timbaland was short for Timothy? I mean, Missy she's an all-timer. Still cranking out bangers now.
I like how Timbaland was just like the low key, like Lil Jon back in the day, like, yeah. He was just a squeaky Timbaland on like a really polished floor. Just walking in from a rainstorm.
All right, everybody. Let's get some housekeeping going here.
Let's do it.
Been really trying to trim the fat here, Dan.
You've been doing well. You've been cutting it down. We get the guest on a lot quicker. So, and go.
All right, everybody. Make sure to follow, rate, and review the podcast. Follow on all major podcast platforms. Rating, Dan, what's that rating?
5-star party, baby.
5-star party. And give us a review. Nice, scathing, funny, interesting, has nothing to do with the podcast. We don't
Could be
care.
a new record, Tom.
Yeah. Review. Wait, no. Follow. Unfollow. We talked about it before.
Mess with the algorithm.
Beat the algorithm, guys. Rage against the machine. Tell your friends about the podcast. If you like the podcast, maybe your friends do. I guess you would have similar interests. I don't know. If I like a show, I tell Dan about the show because we have similar interests. Help us support the podcast. Make it even better. Equipment. Merchandise, sunglasses. Maybe we'll get those. We'll get that Pit Viper collaboration we've been jonesing for so bad.
I know. We've been sliding their DMs just hardcore.
Go
tagging them.
Go on anchor.fm/bestbestfriendspod/support. Send us some money. You know the deal, guys.
Give me money now. Me a money needing a lot now.
Yeah, so we got our, I think we
gets
got
me every time.
I think we have a care package going out to one of our supporters.
Yeah, we'll be sliding into their DMs for some additional information. We got a care package that we're organizing and it's on its way. And plus, I think our first donor,
he's gonna get something really nice.
He's got something real nice planned, and we'll talk about it later on the podcast.
We're gonna talk it right now because my tits are jacked for this. Guys, we're going back and we're giving you ample time
to prepare.
We're going back and we're doing it rooftop style, baby.
Rooftop.
We're going back to Victory, Philly, right in the heart of Philadelphia, right in Center City, looking at old Benny Frank.
We're going to be looking at the Franklin Institute.
Yeah, well the Ben Franklin Parkway.
Ben Franklin.
Yeah. And we're going to be looking right at old Billy Penn, looking right at him. Saying, God damn it, you stupid Quaker.
And we are going live. Live show.
July 26th. We will be live at Victory Brewing, Philadelphia with Richie, doing some experimental beer. Come down, hang out on the rooftop. Midsummer. We're going to be sweating our dicks off.
I'm going to be wearing the shirt.
I'm going to be wearing Spanx.
Okay.
I'm going to wick all that stuff away. Spanx and Lululemon. That's all. I'm going to be, you're going to see real leisure wear from Tom.
I feel like I'm just going to have like my foot in the small of your back with like one of those old timey Victorian girdles.
The corset.
Yeah, the corset. Yeah. Just like,
I want that nice hourglass figure, Daniel. Oh, help me. All right. July 26th, Victory, Philadelphia.
Save the date.
Yeah. And pay attention to the podcast Instagram page and Facebook page. We will get some promos out.
More information, shortly. Event page, everything.
Yeah.
Just be on the lookout. Follow our social media. Turn on those push notifications.
Yeah. And we're giving you a month and a half notice.
I know. This isn't like, hey, we're going to do a show and it's Monday and we're doing it on Thursday. No, we have given you ample time to find a sitter, get an Uber, find public transportation, get there, hang out with us, drink some beers.
Yeah. Chill. If you want to drive back in the cargo area of Dan's Outback, he's open to it.
It's open, yeah.
Yeah.
I even got that. I have a tiny collar back there that we usually hook our dog up to, so it doesn't go all over the place.
Oh, yeah.
You can use that. I mean, seatbelts maybe, but that really works.
Yeah. All right, we have one more event planned. Date TBD. But we're going to be doing a live podcast from Root Down in Phoenixville with Mike from Root Down and Ryan from Warwick.
We're bringing the Root Down crew and Warwick together. We're going to hang out, have some fun. Could be some beers.
There's going to be beers.
Could be some beers on tap. Who knows?
We're going
to
have
all
some
in the
fun
works.
Stuff going on the projector. It's going to be an event. Yeah. So
Date
don't miss it.
TBD, but
pay attention to the social media pages because we'll be announcing it there. We're making it easier for everybody else. I mean, most of our fans are in
Tom,
Phoenix,
you got me so jacked up over here right now.
Yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Let's bring our guest. Let's drink some beer.
All right. So let's bring our guest on.
This is my new favorite part of the podcast and I'm ready for it.
We are joined tonight by I've been told he's a gypsy brewery.
Oh yeah, I saw that on that article.
It's a gypsy brewery. He's doing beer the right way. Absolute champion of German lagers. I hear he might have been to Germany.
Maybe a few times.
Yeah, maybe. Guys, give it up. Representing Trauger Brewing, it's. You want to bring him on?
I got it.
It's Jeremy Myers. Jeremy, woo!
I like that we clap now, Tom.
Yeah, it really brings up the energy, right?
It's awesome. Hey, there's me. There we go.
Did it make you feel more welcome, Jeremy?
I guess.
Mission successful.
As far as introductions go, that was a pretty good one.
Yeah,
that was good.
All right.
We got to get better at it, though.
Yeah, we'll.
Tom approached me with this idea, and I was like, "So we clap for him?"
Yeah.
I was like,
brings up the energy.
Yeah, I did the golf clap though. It's gonna be.
We're all in kind of unison right there.
I like that. Bringing me out of it brought me out of my mac and cheese fueled lull.
I know. I can't wait for the first beer to just start turning all of that like processed cheese in your stomach.
It's going to be like a cement mixer in there.
Oh God, I can't wait. I'm not looking forward to the smell coming out of this room.
Between your taco burps and whatever's going to come out of me. This is why we do it remote. This is why we do the guest remote.
We don't put the guests through this.
It's only smells. All right, let's crack into a beer here and get the old conversation rolling. What do you say there, Daniel?
Oh, I am for it.
All right, so the first beer we are going to be doing is oh man, I'm so pumped for this episode. It's just a lager filled episode.
Just crisping through your bloodstream.
Oh man. I've been looking for this all day. So we're going to be doing the Newert Hells. That's Hells Lager. It's 5% alcohol by volume, named after my Newert family line. This like new, or do you want to pronounce that, Jeremy?
Novichtige.
Sure. I know I'm Dare Tom tonight, but wasn't going to go after that one. Hells was brewed utilizing a single decoction mash of German Bestmalz Pilsner malt and hopped in the kettle with a balance of old and new world German hops in Tettnanger and Mandarina, Bavaria, bright with hints of fresh baked bread and clementine slices. Ooh, baby.
Let's do it.
All right. Let's what glass are we going to do here, Dan?
Whatever one I can see while I'm still wearing the glasses. It's getting kind of dark in here.
Right. I feel like the Stange is going to do this one.
Okay,
right?
let's do it.
Plus, I think the Crowler is not going to pour well in the Stange.
Guest already cracked.
Oh, all right.
Awesome.
We got a little premature craculation. It's all right. It happens. It happens to the best.
I'm pouring this Crowler I talked about earlier. So.
Did Mike Locke tell you to crack your beer first?
I'm just impatient. So,
all right, Daniel. 1, 2, 3. I'm being a little more careful because I used my my chin towel.
Your chin towel.
Yeah, my chin towel is no longer with us. Cleaned up a spill on the floor, so I don't want to go floor to face.
Oh man,
you never go floor to face.
I have to say the black cans rule.
Yes, that was the first thing
on the stream there.
That was the first thing I noticed while I was ransacking Broken Goblet's fridge.
I know. While you went all like Kevin McAllister through Broken Goblet.
You could have walked away with some of those Troon cans too. I wouldn't have had a problem with that.
Oh, yeah. No, I saw that.
Not that I have a problem with those guys. Just I happen to go up. I'm good friends with those guys. I was up there last week, and then they needed some Pilsen malt. So they got 2 bags of Wireman from us on Sunday, and they dropped off 2 more cans. So
man, you were making beer mules all over. So angry.
Do you know what kind of money you have in that fridge right now?
Yeah, trust me, I know.
A bunch of line dorks that stood out for like 3 hours waiting to get those.
Oh man!
All right, let's get into this. Daniel,
cheers,
Slancha.
Cheers, Jeremy.
Cheers. Kind of weird. My glass does the whole blurry thing, so it's kind of like
it just goes away like mid sip.
Like the beer.
The beer's too clear.
Ah, man, not clear enough.
No, yeah, that is.
I just want it to be translucent. I just want to see glass, but this is beautiful.
Yeah,
I drank a ton of Hellas Lager this week. on vacation. So this is like right up my alley right now.
Well, Dan, I think you're still on vacation, right?
Oh, I'm mentally, yeah.
It's a state of mind.
State of mind, bro.
State of mind.
I haven't been able to read a single thing on my laptop since we started this.
So, Hellas is, I think it's a podcast favorite.
Podcast favorite style for us. I mean, we grew up out here in the suburbs of Philadelphia, close to Sly Fox. So, Hellas was a style that, we drank frequently. So,
I mean, their hell in particular for me, when I'm going to show my age a little bit here. When I was living in the city in the early aughts, 2004, so 20 years ago at this point, 19 years ago, I used to love going to the Standard Tap on, in the fall in particular. They used to always have venison steak, like a grilled venison steak with like sweet mashed potatoes, and then just wash it down with a Sly Fox Hell. And it's like every time I would go, I would, I'd go there more than just the fall time, and seasonally, but I always look forward to that because, like, for me, that, beer especially is a very, experience driven thing where I always remember, I always remember the beers I've drank and the situations and the experience that surround them. And like, for me, it does make a difference. I mean, Yard's Pale Ale is the same way for me. But Sly Fox Hell in particular, like, and venison steak and sweet mashed potatoes at Standard Tap is like, that's my be all. I could like die and go to heaven, after.
Yeah, that sounds like, and that's a fall thing. If they still do that meal, I'd have to go now.
The Standard Tap meal is I like the chicken pie.
Yeah, the chicken pot pie is awesome.
Yeah, because it's like every bite you get the crust. It's not just like crust on top. They put it and they roll it around like and their grilled grilled octopus is pretty ridiculous. Great place to go and have a really good meal and a good beer.
Yeah, I love that place. I need to get back. Unfortunately, I actually get to the city when I'm home from Germany. I get down, I don't want to say super often, but enough. But I'm always doing something business wise. I got to go for a meeting or whatnot. And I'll be lucky enough to hit up like Johnny Brenda's or Standard Tap for lunch, but I never actually get to hang out that much anymore, and whatnot. But I'm dying for like a weeknight or a week, like a Friday or Saturday, just go to JV's or Standard Tap just for a dinner or something like that, and hang out and have a few beers, as opposed to like spending most of my time bullshitting with a vendor or something like that. Oh, like, because it's really easy. Like, oh, where do you want to meet to have this meeting? I'm like, oh, we can meet at Johnny Brenda's.
Well, speaking of that general vicinity, how does Franklin Hall hold up to the real thing?
As far as beer selection is concerned, it's top notch. You're not, German beer there is great. I mean, I wouldn't call it a German beer hall. I mean, I would call it a German beer hall. It's got a little bit of that feel, but it's not, typically, what you'd expect in a German beer hall would be much more open. And then the outdoor area is a little, to me, it's just, it's sort of just a product of the fact that it's a location in Fishtown. It just needs to be spread out a little bit more, just for me to feel more. That doesn't mean I don't like it or enjoy it. I think it's great. And the beer, you're not going to go wrong. I mean, the beer there is always, it's slamming.
It's hard to miss when your selections of beers are half liter or a liter.
You should try, like, that's the thing about working in Germany is, especially business lunches, what we would call a business lunch, or a Feierabend beer, which is a happy hour beer. It's like, every lunch is like, oh, we're going to go get some food and, have a business lunch, and like 3 beers deep, so you're a liter and a half deep at this point. You're like, I'm not going to get anything done the rest of the day. Like, screw it. Let's go for broke and let's party.
I'm full of sausage and liters of beer.
Yeah, and some of the food can be a little heavy too. So there's that. And then by the time it's 4:30, happy hour Feierabend, is it's always Feierabend beer. So it's like, boom, it's just customary. So it's very culturally different when it comes to that. So it's taken me a little bit to get used to. I mean, like, twist my arm, like, get used to drinking beers at like, noontime or 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
I've been to the American business meetings and you just hear a can crack, like,
yeah.
Hey, everybody, Spätzle and beer, Spätzle and beer, Spätzle and beer.
Yeah, it's not hard, trust me. And I mean, of course, so the brewery I work for in Germany, Box, the family has a beer garden, like a fishing. It's technically a fishing hut, but they have a big beer garden attached to it, and it's along like these trails, these hiking trails, and it's not hard to get lost there in an afternoon on Sunday. Just like hang out, especially like right before I left to come back home on this trip. Like the weather was gorgeous. So I'm sitting in this beer garden. It's, like 75 degrees, half-liter beers. And like, yeah, I mean, life doesn't get much easier than that sometimes.
I need a like a beer garden like that around here with just
Yes.
trails just to get lost with a half-liter of like.
I love it, man. It's like, and it's not just that. I mean, they're all over the place, especially where I am. It's just like there's all these hiking trails, and then there's 3 beer gardens. So you could spend an afternoon on a Sunday. You can get like a solid 15 kilometers in, which is going to be just under 10 miles, but you are going to hit 3 beer gardens, over the course of the afternoon. So like you basically hike a little bit, you earn the first, liter, and then you hike a little bit more, you earn the second liter, you hike a little bit more, you earn the third liter.
So let's talk about this beer here.
Cool.
I think we hold Sly Fox as hell as the kind of the standard, like
I feel that's our kind of our
it's like the
benchmark.
bar.
Yeah, that's our bar right there for the I guess personally for us, like that's what we kind of we set the bar based on our collective experience. But I mean, I had to put this down because I'm just motoring through sips thinking about German beer gardens over here.
So what I like about this is it kind of goes along with what Sly Fox has made me think of a Hell's. Like it's crispy, it's light bodied, but there's still packs a ton of flavor.
So like full, like the malt just is so full bodied. It has that the straw color and everything. It's just,
and it's right on with the description: baked bread and clementine slices. You get that little bit of citrus in there, nice brightness. Where I feel like typically with a lot of like the breweries in this area, when you have one of their Hells, some of them can be a little bit heavier than others, not as clear. You get a little bit of like almost like a weediness to it.
Mm-hmm.
Some go a little bit overboard with the citrus. Not saying that any are necessarily bad. I don't think I've really had a bad one.
I don't think I've ever had a bad Hells. So.
But I think in terms of comparison to like Sly Fox, which I think is kind of a true Hells, it's a lot of them kind of strew and get a little too quote unquote crafty with it.
I guess they're taking liberties with like the traditional recipe, and
which I mean I can't blame. I mean, you got to try a little bit something a little bit different, but this, and we'll get into talking about your brewing style in a little bit here, but it's like picture perfect. Like this is right up there with Sly Fox, where it's very light.
Yep.
Medium body. It's not, weighing on you. Slam a couple back.
I'm drinking the BJCP right now.
Yeah.
Like this is like, it's like the tasting notes and everything that I've read for Hells as I read through the BJCP is just being ingested right now.
You got everything in there. You got,
ticks all the boxes, Tom.
Nice malt backbone. You get the breadiness, and it kind of finishes on that clean citrusy flavor. And it's just, it's
just damn delicious, Jeremy.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Yeah, I think one of the things that you kind of touched upon it, Tom, was that a lot of American brewers, just because of the way they brew, mostly, to me, it always surrounds like single infusion. If you can only do single infusion, doesn't mean you can't make a good Hell. It just, the recipe, a lot of the recipe and process, decisions are going to be different. And so I think a lot of times people kind of go overboard, in particular where you want a little bit of sweetness in a Hell. You still want it to be dry, but you need to have malt character. The malt character has to be there.
Definitely.
Certainly in the decoction, you're going to get a lot of that. Character is going to be derived from the decoction mash. Whereas if you do single infusion, you can't get that. So maybe you try to compensate or overcompensate by adding some Carahel, or maybe, Munich or too much Munich or Vienna or too much Vienna, and like then it ends up being something it's not. And that's where I think a lot of American brewers kind of struggle with that. And it doesn't mean you can't make a good hell with single infusion. I just think it's a little bit easier to make it more in a more traditional way because you can keep the thing to me about German beers in particular, is really just keeping them simple. They don't, you don't need to overcomplicate these beers. A lot of the process, decisions you make and the things you do, are what going to determine, how well the beer is made. When you start really throwing in too much, making it a kitchen sink beer, it can be really troublesome. And I think the other side of it too is American brewers, and I get caught up in this myself, is that we have a tendency to be a little aggressive on the hop side. And this is certainly a beer that it's not easy for the hops to overwhelm. Actually, I'd say, like, for example, like this batch of Newert is that it's too hoppy for my liking, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. It's more, I think the beer's sitting right where I want it right now, but like maybe, the beer's only 6 weeks old now at this point. But like 3 weeks ago, I didn't like it as much because, the hops were still a little too bright. And in particular, that's a process decision I make because part of it too is I want to make a beer that sticks around a little bit. In fact, the beer that I'm drinking right now is the Cannstatter Pilsner I made for the Cannstatter Club last year. And like, if there was any complaint, mainly by the club members, was that they didn't like it as much as they wanted to because it was too hoppy, whereas like, my counter to that was like, well, you wanted Roadhouse. Roadhouse is a hoppy Pilsner. This is, no fucking around here. And so if anything, like now this beer is 11 months old and it drinks, awesome, and probably, has a lot to do with it. It's, certainly a hop forward beer. It's been sitting in this crowler in my fridge for 10 months now, 11 months now. But like, that's a mistake I think that, I make all the time, not all the time, but I try to avoid. It's really easy as an American brewer to be heavy-handed on the hopping side, whereas, hell, and even Pilsner to a certain extent, you have to be a little less heavy-handed and a little bit more delicate with your hopping. Doesn't mean that, these are beers that aren't going to show hops, but, particularly in this style, you have to be careful. The Pilsner, you can be much more assertive with, but it's not hard to be, heavy-handed and overbearing on that as well. And I think that's just something that we as American brewers, I laugh when I'm in Germany because like the hopping rates, American brewers are German, hop farmers' best friends. I have conversations and I tell them the hopping rates of some of the beers we make, and they're just like, "Hey, come hang out with me a little bit. We're gonna get really buddy here."
Quadruple dry hop, you say?
I just use the example like the IPA we were making at
university.
IPA we were making at Box before I started was hopped at a rate of about the dry hop was 1.5 grams per liter. So that's less than like a half pound per barrel. It's pretty low. But the problem with that is that the beer just wasn't what what I would expect from a West Coast style IPA. So immediately we went from 1.5 grams per liter to 11 grams per liter, which is more like dry hopping something at 3.5 pounds per barrel. And like as soon as we did that,
American just wants to big.
As soon as we did that, the beer just jumped off the page, so to speak, and everyone at the brewery was like, "Oh God, Jesus! Like this is so much better and different than it was before." I was like, "Well, that's because it's got 10 times more hop in it, in the dry hop in particular." And of course, then you start talking to, some of the growers and then the hop brokers over there. As soon as they find out you're an American brewing in Germany, they want to be your best friend because they know that you're going to go after those hops. All those hops that are super expensive to get in Germany, like Citra, Mosaic, Amarillo, whatever. Those all the big, sexy varieties, that are going for 40 euros, 35 to 40 euros per kilo. So like 20 to like it's like $18 to $20 a pound. So basically like $6 to $8 more a pound than what we would pay for it here in the States. All those varieties, they know that as American brewer, I want those varieties. So they're like, "Oh, I've got this fresh crop of Citra that just landed. It's only 45 euros per kilo." And I'm like, "Oh, great! That's $10 more a pound than I pay for it at home. Thanks, man."
You're a German hop broker's retirement plan.
I just love
his 401k.
I just love thinking that like most of the breweries around here like would go broke if they went to Germany to brew in Germany, because it's like What would they do without Citra Mosaic?
Jeremy's just going through customs with a suitcase full of hops. He's like, I don't want to pay the premium out here.
Well, it's funny that you say that because a lot of times I'm not bringing hops back, but I am bringing as much stainless parts as I can fit in my bag.
Oh, man.
So I'll use an example like
that can't look good in the X-ray.
I know.
Well, my bag is searched almost every time, and like
The metal detector blows up when they go over his bag.
like 2 trips ago, I brought an inline stainless steel strainer for the hot water tank. It's an $800 inline strainer. For our hot water tank, it's maybe 1.5 foot long. It's in my luggage, and I was like, oh man, like TSA is gonna have a field day with this when it goes to the X-ray.
Jeremy, you can borrow my snowboard bag if you want. You could probably fit a lot in there.
I'm muling so much. One of the cool things about this project as well has been that now I have an elevated status with United, so I get 2 70-pound bags checked for free. So between my stainless steel parts and my beer muling, I'm like muling a lot more back to Germany. So like I have,
can you get us the smoothie?
I bought a bunch last time, and I have some friends at another brewery, and I gave them,
what the fuck is this?
a couple of imprint smoothies, and they were just like, I can't drink this. What the fuck?
Fuck is this?
Yeah, we've made so many jokes about like those smoothie style beers going over to like Germany, where like they're so like pure.
You're gonna cause like a fourth.
Yeah.
There's certainly an interest for them over there, and there are definitely breweries like Frau Gruber out of Augsburg, and Sudden Death is up by Kiel in the north. Like they are definitely making, they're full on, basically an American craft brewery. They're doing pastry stouts, kettle sours, hazies, triple IPAs, all that shit. So there's certainly a market for it, and I think younger German, drinkers are certainly getting more and more into that. But then, where I am in the Saarland, like there's not a craft scene like there is in the bigger cities.
They'll cut your hands off if you talk about marshmallow in a beer.
I was kind of surprised to see it in Norway. I follow this place Duck Pond because the brewer lead singer of Millencolin. So I saw that his smoothie sour. I went.
That doesn't surprise me in Sweden and Denmark and the Netherlands right now is like freaking the wild west. The UK and the Netherlands are the wild west. But even like we bought a hop gun, Braucon hop gun from a brewery in Budapest, Hungary called Mad Scientist, and like you check them out and like it's just so it's so crazy to be an American brewer in Europe because for the longest time American brewers were shit on. Like we didn't make beer, American craft beer was shit. Blah blah this, blah blah that, and now. I mean, without a doubt that the American craft brewer is, the most influential brewer in the world. Everybody, not to say everybody wants to be like American craft brewers, but like so much of what we do now doesn't make a difference where you go, whether it's France, whether it's, the Netherlands or Germany or the UK or, like Scandinavia, Denmark, Russia, all these places they're draining hazy beer, kettle sours, fruit sours, pastry stouts. It's wild. I mean, you're seeing it in Germany now too, and it's gonna happen. I don't think it'll be as explosive growth wise in Germany. I think it'll be a slow climb, but that's fine. I mean, slow and pragmatic is is a great way to grow. Especially, I've been behind a brewery that is growing gangbusters, and it's like you're hanging on by the seat of your pants, and it's kind of fun while it's happening, but like in retrospect, it wasn't.
You said hop gun, and all I could think about was Jay from Neshaminy Creek doing like a beer-based Kiss tribute band called Hop Gun. Hop Gun.
Yeah, I can see that.
I was doing the song in my head too. I was also thinking of like how popular American beer is over there, that there must be like statues, like Sam Caglione from Dogfish Head has a statue like a dictator in USSR, just a statue of him out there.
There's certainly some brewers over there that are American brewers that are seen as rock stars, like even people that American brewers that I look up to, they're seen like as rock stars over there. And it was really cool. I mean, I noticed the guys from Frau Gruber actually were just at the Firestone Walker Invitational, so to see a brewery like that making the beer that they're making, and get that recognition is pretty cool to see, which is funny because like what I'm doing with Trauger is like the complete opposite here in the United States.
You can drive down the Rob Todd Memorial section of the Autobahn.
Oh man.
All right, so I know Dan, I know you're in the same spot as I am.
I've been trying to just make this last through the entire conversation without like chugging it.
Well, you got 4 cans of it, so an extra can for each of you.
He doesn't know about the other cans, Jeremy. Just keep it on the DL.
I was gonna say, I think you hit him in the back because I only saw 2 when I went in there. Final thoughts on the beer?
Man, it is. I mean, it's damn near perfect for as far as what we're familiar with.
I mean,
as far as
for
how
us,
it goes.
our limited experience with like the German styles, Hell's was Sly Fox for us. And Sly Fox brought German beers to us, when we weren't really.
Hell, Sly Fox Hell's, they turned our buddy, shout out Steve, the Coors Light Yingling drinking Steve into a craft beer guy.
I know, now he's a craft beer nerd.
He was buying Sly Fox Hell by the case with the pop top, and
I mean, it's a great gateway beer in that respect. It's not hard to go from Coors to a beer like this.
100%.
Yeah, but this is really fantastic, and I mean, it's right behind you, and Dan and I are self-proclaimed label shoppers, and
oh yeah, I mean,
this
gotta
is
love a good label, and the black can, like this is
it's just that's just fantastic. Black can, the font usage is great, the little touch of silver. I love the info on the side there. It's really and a nice clear canned on date, man. This is you can
tell
it's a top 5 can for me. I mean, this is like the simplicity and just the overall design is.
I was gonna say the meticulous care you went into, and not only just the beer itself, like the beer is just top notch, but like what you did in the can and everything too, and what you're doing with Trauger. Like, I love beers that kind of go through it, tell you what's exactly in the beer, kind of educate you a little bit. And something that's going to pop when it's on a shelf, or that you're going to see it when you go to the brewery, or if you go to Broken Goblet, when no one's there and you're trying to rob the place and you say, oh, there's the Hells right there.
You got to hurry up. There's only about 12 cases left. So I think there's 12 cases in 1/2 and 2 sixtels. And I think that half is already called. We're going to save the 2 sixtels for the Goblet Stock, the anniversary on the 16th. Because that looks awesome. Back to that. So we're going to try to pour that as part of like the mutual respect table.
Oh, sweet.
That's awesome.
And this is for sale at Broken Goblet, correct?
Right now, it's the only place. Yeah, it's that really isn't 100% of my intention right now. It's not so much that I don't want to sell it outside. It's that right now when I'm not making a lot of the beer, that was only a 10-barrel batch. I think maybe this year I might only do 60 barrels of total beer. But then past that, like because of my work schedule and everything else going on in life. My ability to go out and sell the beer doesn't really exist right now. So usually it's like, I know some people at some bars, like whether it's a Humaville Inn or, this place or that place, like Dog and Bull. And I'll just be like, hey, you want a half or 2 of this? Cause I only have 6, so the beer has been more or less evaporating without me putting a whole lot of effort into it outside of like, sending a text message to a bar manager or bar owner, or like me putting something up on like Instagram stories or, putting a post up, which is cool. I'm not going to complain about that, certainly, but I do want to get some more out. I was actually texting back and forth with a friend of mine this weekend. He's like, where can I get some of this beer near me? And I know where he lives. And I was like, dude, there's no beer in Montgomery County. And I drive to Bensalem right now, which is cool. I mean, and I love, it's nice to keep it. I know it stays, close to the cuff and everything there. It's always in the cold box, which is, the beer's treated the way it should. It's on side pour, which I demand that. Like that's one of the things I really want to make sure that it's always on side pour. It's in my glassware, so I don't know if it's going to disappear or not. And there you can see.
There it is.
You can see it now,
and he's completely gone.
I just back out. You can see the
Jeremy. Where'd you go, Jeremy? Oh, there it is.
But yeah, I mean, like I can, we can. That's sort of what I want to do. It's the whole idea behind Trauger, besides brewing, beers in a traditional way, is to get back to having fun with this. Like that's why I started brewing in the first place. It doesn't mean I can't, won't. I mean, I'm not going to brew hazy IPAs for Trauger, but it doesn't mean I don't like to drink those beers or brew them either. It's just I'm not going to do that with this. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole idea is that, I don't want to sit in business meetings anymore where it's like, well, we need to sell X amount of barrels this month, or we're not going to hit our targets, and that's going to be bullshit. And like, man, like, that's so draining. I used to think that that's what I wanted, and I certainly, was at a brewery where that's what we were doing, but it just got to the point where like that wasn't what I wanted anymore.
That makes sense. I mean,
definitely. And I mean, you can tell that like you put the love you have for craft beer and for this style, like into this house. Like you could tell that it's a lot of care went into this, not only just the packaging, but also, obviously just how great it's brewed and just a joy to fucking drink.
I think we know a gentleman that might be at Memphis Tap that would probably love to have this on.
Another lager aficionado in Philadelphia.
I might be having some conversations with him. I mean, those guys are awesome. I mean,
I love lagers. We love lagers.
Robot 2 are super cool. I was like, really stoked that they invited me to log jamming this year.
Oh, sweet.
So that I was looking forward to that festival, pretty much since the moment they asked me and whatnot. And I mean, to the branding and the artwork, I got to give a shout out to JP Flexner, the man behind the art. JP and I have worked together for a long time, whether it's, before, we started working together in the beer industry and doing all the artwork, we were doing stuff together, playing in bands, but, music side of things. And then it just really translated to an awesome working relationship here in beer. And then, when I decided to do this, JP actually he was my first choice, but I didn't, I wanted to deviate from a little bit of what I'd done in the past. I'd done, worked with JP for more or less like 7-8 years on a brand. And I wanted to do something different. Not that I didn't know that JP could do something completely different, because he's like one of the most talented, designers and illustrators out there. But I specifically wanted to try something new.
Oh, lost audio.
You still there?
I gotta set the audio again.
I think you just had to unmute yourself.
I did, but I can't hear it.
You're not going to be able to hear it.
Hold up, Jeremy. Sorry, we lost you for a second.
No problem.
I'm going to be up here in a second.
We just had Tom's computer shut down.
I was going to say, you can see he's frozen.
Him just going, son of a bitch.
He's picking his nose, actually.
Yeah, it does look like he's picking his nose.
Damn it. It does look like I'm picking my nose.
Sweet. I'm getting a screenshot. It went away. He's coming back.
Yeah. All right. Can we get the next
Hold up. Yeah. Mute here.
Yeah, I get you.
That feedback.
There we go.
All right, we should be good.
We're back. All right, we're back. We're back in business. All right, we're gonna get the next beer going here.
It's dark. I can't see anymore.
Dan has shed his pit vipers. We're slowly getting
You're slowly getting me out of vacation.
Yeah. All right, so
next one, Tom. I'm surprised. This is 2 for the night for you from this brewery.
Yeah, this is we have a history with this brewery, but it's neither here nor there. So this is a collaboration beer with Trauger and Imprint.
Yep.
Guys, go ahead and send in your comments now. We're doing Maibock. It's a 6.7 alcohol by volume. We brewed this Maibock with our longtime. Well, this is pulled from Imprint. We brewed this Maibock with our longtime Ben Salem friends, Trauger Brewing, German malt, hops, and yeast lagered for 4 weeks and lovingly packaged into cans and kegs.
I feel like this description was kind of rushed, man. I want to know a little bit more about this Maibock, but yeah, let's get into it here.
Wait, this says on the bottom of the can, it says "My neck, my Bach."
I do like that.
Oh, here comes Maibock with bubblegum and strawberry. Interesting.
No strawberries or bubblegum was injured in the production of that beer.
All right, so let's get
I do detect a hint of marshmallow.
Oh, that was the joke Ryan kept on making when we were talking about the recipe. Because at the time I was in Germany, so we were texting back and forth about it. And he kept on saying, like, when are we going to add the marshmallow? I was like, dude, the joke was funny the first time. It's not funny.
But seriously, I'm sitting on 2 tons of jet puff here, guy.
Come on, man. Help me move this.
All right, Daniel, let's get a crack here. 1, 2, 3. So
I don't want to beat a dead horse, but again, another style introduced to us by none other than Sly Fox.
Yes. Well, yeah, we're close proximity to their Pottstown location, and
goat race aficionados.
Yeah, Bachfest is. I should have used my Bachfest Stein for this one, or my tankard. Don't be offended, Jeremy. So actually, this is our second imprint lager of the night.
That's what I said. This is the second one. I'm like, Tom, like, don't.
And they're
I feel like the world's gonna end when Tom has had 2 imprint beers in one night.
I mean, they're a lager company now, right? That's their thing. They're a lager company now.
It's Imprint Lager Co. Yeah, but I mean, I'm interested to try this. Mm-hmm. So,
Slancha,
cheers,
Jeremy. Slancha.
I gotta pour myself another beer because not only is it invisible, but it's empty.
All right. I still have a 4-pack of that left there. All right, we got a Twitch viewer.
Sweet.
Hopping on with
Egregious. Is that Egregious Gamer?
Yeah, Egregious Gamer still has a 4-pack of that left.
Oh, nice.
Good sweetness on there.
Yeah. So, did you brew this at Imprint, or did you brew this?
So this was brewed at Imprint, which was a fun brew day because they have a single infusion mash tun.
Oh, okay.
But one of the part of that conversation with those guys was, hey, how can we do this in a way that'd be more traditional than just doing a single infusion? So I asked Ryan, I was like, I was like, why don't we do it as a step mash? And he said, well, we can't. And I said, you certainly can. We just have to do it as a water step mash. And I was like, we have to do an infusion, water step, where we just, we go thicker at the beginning of the mash, and then we go thinner as we get to the top. But we can do our steps that way if we calculate how much water and the temperature of the water and how much we needed to make it happen.
Yeah.
So that's what we did, and that was the first time they had ever done that at Imprint. And it was, those are one of those days, that are fun. I love, being a brewer for those reasons, because you do things like that. You challenge yourself. I mean, that's something I had done, but they had never done. So I said, I was like, let's do it. What's the point of doing this if we're not going to challenge ourselves? Let's have some fun with this. And that's really what ended up happening with that beer.
Yep, MacGyvering a lager right there at
I mean, there's ways you can do it. You just have to be a little bit more creative, or you have to think outside the box instead of just throwing a bunch of malt and hops in with breakwater and saying, oh, well, that's what I got to deal with. Ways you can get, you can be a little bit more creative, and I think you can make better beer that way too.
So what would you say the tasting notes we should expect with this would be? With a Maibock.
With that beer or Maibock in general? Because
Oh, okay.
I say it not because I think the beer it's a bad beer, but I mean, I think that version is a little bit maybe sweeter than I usually prefer. I like them to be a little bit drier.
I agree with you, because I was getting a couple Maibocks, obviously with the season, a few weeks ago, just kind of stocking up on a couple from around our area here. And this is probably on the sweeter side for me.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I mean, that's, I think, maybe a more common issue you see here in the States, mostly because of the way we, most of the time these things are fermented in in closed fermenters, and you get a little on the higher side of the ABV, although this one's not too bad. The yeast can struggle a little bit, and whatnot, so they just don't dry out as much as you'd like them to. And then also that's a little bit something we can counter with a step mash or a decoction. We can specifically go after that in the mash, in our mixing or mash mixer. But that's just, doesn't make it a bad beer, because there's certainly versions of this beer that are sweeter that, I enjoy as well. Just for me, I like them to be a little drier. That's all.
I agree. Yeah, I do like a little bit more dryness, almost like dryness to like a crispy bite to a little bit at the finish. This is nice. Like the malt in it, this kind of is what a Maibock is kind of brewed for. As bocks go, this is where you're stepping out into like the warmer weather. It's namesake and everything. You wanted a lighter lagered beer to ring in the summer season.
This is also a great style that if you have the opportunity, especially home brewers, can do this a little bit more readily than a professional brewer can. But if you can do this beer as an open fermentation, or at least an open fermentation for maybe like the first 36 to 48 hours, and then close it down, I think the yeast, in particular, because the higher gravity in these beers and the higher ABV, is really aided by not having that hydrostatic pressure. Although, if it's a smaller batch, it's not, nearly the same, but the yeast will struggle a little bit more because of the higher, work gravity, and having that open fermentation really allows the yeast to be a little bit more assertive in the sense that it's going to dry out, I think, a little bit better. That's my opinion.
Nice. Yeah. And I forgot about the higher ABV being like, it's a celebratory beer and everything too. Like it's made to be like, hey, we're celebrating the warm weather's coming, the fields, and like, historically it's bringing on like the season of plenty, basically.
Yeah. It's you're getting into the warmer season. It's nice because it's still you'll have it's that spring thing where the mornings are going to be crisp. The later day is, you have the spring weather.
Yeah.
So it's going to be nice and warm. But then it gets a little chilly as the sun starts to go down. So a bigger beer still works out well for that.
No, I agree.
So I wanted to ask, I think we need to get a little bit more into Jeremy's brewing background.
Oh, totally.
You're doing a lot of work over in Germany, and over here, you don't really experience that a lot. So can you tell us what it's like brewing? Was it according to now I'm going to butcher this word.
No, don't say it.
The Reinheitsgebot.
Reinheitsgebot.
Oh, I'm so close.
Oh, it got Canadian right at the end. It was like Reinheitsgebot.
It's interesting. Even the things that we understand or know about the purity law, when you get there, there's even more to it. Of course, we kind of oversimplify things like, well, it's got to be, 4 ingredients, blah, blah, this, blah, blah, that. It's actually even more complicated than that, but yet there's some simplicity to it as well. One of the things that I never knew before I started brewing in Germany was that technically we have to mill our own malt. We're not allowed to use pre-milled malt. It has to be milled on site. One of the things I, always understood or thought I understood was that you couldn't do any adjustments to the water chemistry or your water coming in, into the building. Like it's like basically what you have is what you have to use, but that's not true. We actually can use like reverse osmosis or any sort of other like charcoal filtration, things like that. But for example, with reverse osmosis, we could do that, and we could put brewing salts back into the water, but we can't put more into the water than already exists. So we can take all the shit out that we don't want and say we want, a fair amount of calcium sulfate, gypsum, or calcium, carbonate. Like if we want to, calcium chloride. If we want to put those things back into the water, we can do that, but it can't be more than what our water already has, so that's sort of a limitation there. And then the other side, it has to be specifically what we call the brewing water. Like we can't adding any of those salts to the water, the mash specifically, like, that's once the mash is the mash. You can't do anything to it. Like, it's got to be, for example, lagers. And that's the other thing. It's like the purity law is funny in the sense that it's, lagers are sacred ground. You can, it does govern ales to a certain extent, but like it's almost as if they don't care, with the ales is. But if you do anything to a lager, it's like heaven forbid.
So what
It's like a
what
lager secret
governs
society that just takes you out.
what governs those laws?
So there's actually it's in the federal Bundesstaat like laws, like the statutes that run the federal government. It actually has been so the Reinheitsgebot everyone calls it the German purity law, but it really actually was the Bavarian purity law, and it did not become the law of the land in Germany until 1906. And then after, like, World War I and II and whatnot, when West
Took a little break with the word purity then.
Nothing happened here from
like
vacation.
after the Second World War, like in East and West Germany split up, like East Germany didn't acknowledge the purity law, but West Germany did. So it was actually written into their statute and their, the civil codes. But then it's also the misconception is that you can't make anything but those beers in Germany. That's not true. The difference is that you can make any type of beer you want, but there's only certain beers that you can call beer. So if it's, the main four ingredients, the basic four ingredients, then you can call it beer, but if I put sugar, into the beer, if I use dextrose or any sort of sugar adjunct or any other adjunct for that matter, whether it be corn or rice or
marshmallow.
I put any of those things into it, it changes what we can call it. And that used to be a perception by the German, consumer of inferior beer. So if it wasn't a beer, then it was, shit. It wasn't a good beer. But the funny thing is dry hop beer cannot be. No dry hop beer will ever be a purity law beer, but it doesn't make it not a beer. It's just called what we call a beer specialty in German. So for example, we make one of those at Box. It's actually one of my favorite beers, if not my favorite beer we make, is a dry hop Tellus, and we dry hop it with Simcoe and Amarillo, and the beer, it tastes like lemonade right off the bottling line. It's awesome. I love it, but it's not a beer. It's a beer specialty, a Specialitaten. Like that's or Specialitaten. It's one of those things where like it used to be an issue. The German consumer did not want to drink anything that wasn't beer. And I use the example of Frau Gruber earlier. Like they're they're flying the flag of those beers. In fact, like all the pastry stouts that they're making, like you can't even call them a beer specialty. They actually have to be what we call a beer Mischgetränk, a beer mixed drink, which has for the longest time had a really negative reputation or connotation to it in Germany, because you can still go into the gas stations in Germany and get like this is why like the German side of things is so strange, where you'd never think you could, a German would mix like cola with a beer, but you can go into a grocery store or a gas station and buy a half liter of cola beer mix, for 50 euro cents. But they bastardize it themselves, but like they would never call that beer. But now you have breweries that are doing pastry stouts and all this crazy, stuff. And they're flying that flag where like they literally put on the front of the can and it'll be the name of the beer and the artwork, and it'll say beer Mischgetränk on the bottom.
Yeah.
And it's almost as if the younger German consumers that are into craft are looking for that. And if it doesn't have it on it, it's almost like the hazy IPA or the pastry stout. Well, that beer didn't finish at 15 Plato. I don't want that shit. Like that beer doesn't say beer Mischgetränk on it. I'm not buying it. It's not a pastry stout. Like it's the same mentality, but just in a different mindset.
There's dorks in Germany too.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, there are.
Beer Dorkenstadt.
There's beer everywhere.
Oh God, beer, Coca-Cola and beer, and France lost to these guys.
I sit there and see it all the time, and like my boss had mentioned, he's like, he's like, man, they wouldn't do this in Bavaria.
Jesus.
Oh man. Yeah, have you ever had it's a German thing, Coca-Cola mixed with orange Fanta?
No, I've never had that.
That's it's sort of like a Spezi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. fantastic. It's unbelievable. It's so good.
Paulaner actually makes a spacey that's like super, super. I mean, I'm not going to say it's good because I'm not into it, but I have a friend.
I have a friend who's into, those adjuncts.
Yeah, actually, he graduated Weinstefan, worked at Bitburger, and then after Bitburger, he worked for Steinecker, the brew house manufacturer. Dude, here's this, a certified brewmaster from, the oldest, brewing. I don't know if it's the oldest brewing school in the world, but it's the oldest brewery. I mean, it's connected to the Technical University of Munich, is connected to Weinstefan, the brewery. Here's this guy, it's a 4-year degree in brewing, is technically a certified brewmaster, because I can't call myself a brewmaster in Germany because I don't have a degree from a German brewing school. But here's this guy, and he absolutely loves this spacey shit. And I'm every time. But then you have Paulaner, who's obviously this mega brewery, and they make it. They make the spacey, and it's super popular. But he loves it. He absolutely freaks out about it.
We had a schnitzel house near down on 724. Where Jerry Chicken is.
Yeah.
There's a schnitzel house there that my wife and I would frequent. My wife was born in Heidelberg.
Oh, nice. And I'm not far from Heidelberg, actually.
Yeah, we would go down there and get some schnitzel, and they had that spatzy or whatever.
Spatzy,
yeah. And I was like, ugh.
It just feels like when you're at McDonald's and you like hit the high C orange. Remember when you just put a little high C orange into your soda?
Like mixing like Mountain Dew with like some other weird ass flavor off the fountain.
Well, yeah, I was like, it's like 7-Eleven where you get you go get a fill up a Coke Slurpee and then whatever the other flavor Slurpee is, like, but it was I was like, I gotta try it. I have to find out what it tastes like, and it's really good. Really good.
I'm not super into. There's other like the thing that I've gotten kind of addicted to in Germany is the sprudels, the carbonated, like it's not carbonated sparkling water, but it's usually like flavored carbonated sparkling water. But there's a few that like there's one that it's sweetened with aspartame, but it's a 750 milliliter bottle and it's 7 calories. It tastes like it's super carbonated,
killing brain cells, but loving it.
It's so good. It's like, and I don't feel like like junk after. Like it's not like I just drank a 750, and it was like 500 calories. It's 7 calories for 750.
What's the one we have here? What's the sparkling flavored water?
La Croix or whatever the fuck.
La Croix.
La Croix.
Yeah.
What isn't there, right now in sparkling flavored water? But that's the equivalent in Germany would be Sprudel, or like there's like, Sprudel companies everywhere, and some of them are just crazy. There's a couple that make like this, like multiple different like berries, like teas, like there, it'll be a tea, but it'll have, like raspberry and then a few other different types of berries. And like, they're super good. Like the lemonades, like, I mean, all day. And like you go in, you can just buy crates of them in the grocery store. And I love it. It's, I don't mess with the spacey, but like the rest of the stuff is pretty good.
All right. We have a couple minutes left. I feel like we need to get into this. We needed to get into this last beer.
This Grodziskie.
Yeah, let's final thoughts on the Maibock.
I am finding it to be a little too sweet to I mean, I usually drink these a little bit quicker than usual. Like I love Maibocks. I'm finding it to be a little almost like even like the mouthfeel is a little thick to me. Like it's sweet. So
yeah,
I mean
I'll agree. It's a little on the sweet side for me.
I mean, I have been trying. Vacation Dan is still here.
Not at all either. I mean, like as a brewer, I mean, I'm my own worst critic. So
the malt in it, like the malt.
I mean, it has a great malt character, and I'm like sitting there. I'm like, it's there. I can
yeah.
Taste.
It's just like it has. It's just like it's like the malt is like the bone marrow, and it's just surrounded by like that sweetness, and it's just I can't get through it.
It's literally like the first time I had it, I was like, man, the beer's here, but it's not there.
It's like
it didn't cross the finish line. Yeah.
I think there might be a little more.
Doesn't make it a bad beer. Just doesn't make it exactly the beer that that I want, or like other people will expect or want either. It doesn't mean that we can't do it.
Maibock is. I feel like Maibock's like a very, it's a very palate oriented beer. You know that
Yeah.
you can get people that really love Maibock and people that really hate it.
I mean, I've had one recently from a brewery in Germany called Hares and Heimat that like absolutely crushed it. It was so good. I actually texted the brewer. The brewery's like 2 blocks from my apartment. I actually live in another town, not so Box is in Neukirchen. I've been living in Sunkenberg, and I'm lucky. I live like 2 blocks from this brewery called Hares and Heimat, and they have this awesome like restaurant. It's not attached to the brewery. It's like 2 blocks from the brewery. It's called the Glassbier Metzgerei, and the burgers there are like slamming. Like I love going there at least once a week. And right before they kicked the last keg, I went down finally to drink their Maibock, and I texted him. I was like, "Yo, man, this is so fucking on point."
Yeah, I got a feeling if you're in Germany, you have to ace that.
Yeah.
But it's not an easy style to make. I mean, I've had plenty of them, both stateside and in Europe, that aren't they're not bad beers, but they're just not exactly what I like. That's I mean, it doesn't make a difference. I mean, for me, doesn't make a difference how malty or big the beer is. I like dry beer. Like to me, it's like I want to have the feeling that I want to drink more. So like if that's not in that beer, then it's just something that does. That's like that's the thing about hazy beer to me. Like hazy IPA to me is like you drink one of them, and not only is there probably actually 600 calories in the can, but it feels like there's
Yeah, it's that bloat.
I love the hazies that don't feel like that though. When you get one that looks like it's going to be like that, but then you're like the dryness factors there, and then the bodies, it's just like so refreshing. You're like, thank you for not killing my stomach right now.
Yeah. And I want to say those are few and far between, but they're out there. They're certainly out there.
Oh yeah,
oh totally,
for sure. All right, so we're gonna get into our last beer here from Trauger. So this is
what I'm stoked on because I had this style actually this year was the first time I've had this style, and I thought it was just
so I've never had this style, so I'm you're popping my Grodziskie cherry here, and I'm part Polish.
I know.
I'm half Polish, and
I love that the style sounds like he's a goalie for like the Oilers or something.
It sounds like this would be a last name of most of the people I grew up with.
Are you from Northeast PA?
No, I'm from Delco.
Okay, that would make more sense if you were from Schuylkill County.
I'm from Delco, bro. Yeah. All right, so we're doing. Is it Gratzer?
Gratzer.
So it's a 3.8% alcohol by volume. Grodziskie. It's a Polish style. Am I saying that right? Grodziskie.
In English, it's Grodziskie, but in Polish, it'd be Grodzicka. And I'm probably fucking it up, but it's closer than what it would be in English.
Brewed with 98% oak smoked wheat malt and hopped in the kettle with Zula and Sibylla. Polish hops. Okay, so we have the enemy of the podcast.
The crowler.
The crowler.
Tom, do you have a towel ready?
Why do you hate crowler?
Tom.
We can never pour it.
Tom can never pour a crowler, so like historically, it all goes on the floor.
Yes, most of the first pour goes on the floor.
It trickles down.
It's a floor pour, classic floor pour.
Egregious Gamer, I love hazies too, but we're gonna get into a Polish smoke beer.
Egregious Gamer, the haze craze is over. Get up with the times. We discussed this 2 episodes ago. All right, everybody.
He loves hazies, and the question would be, who the fuck doesn't these days? Jesus.
Oh, I'm the resident haze boy of this group. I am the self-hating hazy boy, though, where I'm just like, yeah, it's a great beer, whatever.
I've come full circle with hazies.
Yeah,
I like them too. Like I said, it's one of those things where I drink one and then
delayed. Who's delayed? Who's delayed?
Am I delayed?
Who's delayed?
Maybe I'm delayed.
I don't know. It all seems kosher to us.
Yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1.
Do it.
My face is clean. All right. Ooh, that is a smoky boy.
Oh man. So while you're pouring this out, I'm gonna
do it. Dan.
You gonna do it? Okay.
Yeah. Hard pour right down the center. All right. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
not
sorry.
delayed. We just pick and choose when we want to bring them up. Egregious gamer. That's what we're the bosses over here.
So yes, I mentioned the Grodziskie or Gratzer is the I just had this style literally like a few months ago. I had one of the former brewers from Wall and Paul Pack gave me theirs. They're
Okay.
smoked. And it's funny because you mentioned Schuylkill County. I was like, oh yeah, they're in Northeast Pennsylvania. So yeah, they're from out in that area.
That makes some good beer too.
Yeah, they are I mean, award-winning beers. We had them on the podcast before. Actually, their Maibock is on my list, and I almost ordered a bunch of it from. I looked at the shipping. I was like, I can't do it right now. I'm about to go on vacation. No one's going to be there to sign off for this beer.
I always forget that we can have Wall and Paul Pack shipped to us.
Statewide shipping, Pennsylvania, baby.
All that sleeveless brewing up there. It's so good.
Oh man, that is beautiful.
Right. Man, it's two straight weeks with a smoked beer.
Yeah, I know.
We're growing, Dan. All right, Slancha.
Cheers.
Prost.
Do you still have that? Was that 11-month Pilsner going on over there?
I got maybe a few more ounces this left, but then I'm probably gonna crack this bad boy, the beast.
The beast.
We'll see. It depends on how well I want to sleep tonight.
I love the light body of the Grodziskie is like one of my favorite things, especially with all of the smoke flavor.
The thing I like about this style in particular is that it's oak smoked wheat, so it has such a different quality than what a smoked barley would have.
Yeah,
there's a certain sweetness to it, and then also because of the low ABV on this, and because wheat also has a certain tartness. I don't want to say tartness, but like it's just a lighter. It cuts through. It's certainly a lighter body.
Yeah,
you would get from barley. So it's a hard beer to make, to be honest. It's a bitch to mash with if you're not doing. I don't suggest anyone that ever wants to make this style to do it as an infusion mash, because it's not hard to have a stuck mash if you're off on your strike.
oh really?
If you're on a step mash, it's super much easier. You won't have issues with it, and also you'll get better efficiency. I haven't done this as a decoction, but I do plan on doing it as a decoction.
Yeah.
So what was this smoked beer we had last week with Volstead?
We did a smoked alt beer.
Alt beer,
and it was a homebrewed smoked alt beer too.
Yeah, that was
so no step mashing there.
No,
there's no step mashing at home.
No, he actually brewed it through a window unit AC.
He lagered it.
Yeah.
So he created a glycol chiller with a wall unit AC.
I know breweries that start off that way. Yeah. I've literally seen that. So
yeah. This is it's super interesting. The smell, like the aroma, I definitely expected a really heavy smoke flavor, and the smoke flavor is definitely there, but it's not like
it's not on the nose.
It's not unenjoyable.
It's not like smoked barley. The smoked wheat is just very, very different. There's also a sweetness, like I said, to the wheat that just creates like a different quality than you would expect when you would like drink made like a rock beer or like a smoked Meritzen or something like that. Like, and for me, because it's such a low ABV beer too, like the smoke isn't over the top, but especially as the beer warms up, it has a lot more complexity than I think you would expect from a beer like that. And then I've been crushing them. I can't stop. I don't try to get high on my own supply, but this is
So we had our buddy here, Egregious Gamer, say, I don't know if I've had one yet. And you probably haven't, because we just got it straight off the line here.
So this is that new.
It was just crowled today.
So I actually only poured this after I kegged it. We put it on side pour for ourselves at Broken Goblet, a sixtel, and then after like a couple of days, I took it off just to save the beer, because I only did a 3-barrel batch of this. There's not a whole lot of it. And then
You guys doing smoked milk pours?
yeah, fucking awesome too.
It'd be awesome. You could drink this on side pool and have Mike Locke tell you how awesome Metallica is.
Lars Ulrich's the best drummer in the world.
I don't know if he'd say that, but
He would.
Yeah. We have it on good authority that he is one of the top Lars Ulrich.
Yeah, we got him drunk one night on the podcast, and he confessed it to us. We have it on recording.
I'm gonna have to confront him about that then.
Yeah, we're gonna release the tape. Don't worry. Just tell him we're gonna release the tape.
I mean, I'm a Metallica fan, but I don't know if I'd go as far to ever put Lars Ulrich in any sort of category of top drummers. So.
I mean, I agree. I don't think I would either, but Mike insists. He's the top drummer.
I've never seen somebody with hard eyes for Lars Ulrich like Mike Locke.
I'll give him one record. I'll give Lars one record. I mean, I'll give him Injustice for All, because for me,
all right,
the drumming on that's not overly. I played in bands with drummers better than Lars Ulrich, but that record for me anyway, as far as
what it is, yeah,
the compositions and what he's his drum parts and that fit all the music perfectly.
I would have gave him Ride the Lightning too. I would have gave him at least that one.
I feel like there's something different about, because there's a progression or maybe even some would say a regression from Ride the Lightning.
I was guess there is a regression from Injustice for All, but
hold on, guys, look, check it out. I'm better than Lars Ulrich.
Oh, come on.
So our buddy Matt here asked if it's comparable to a Rausch beer.
So, I mean, that's kind of like what we were just talking about, the smoked malt versus smoked wheat, like you were just saying. I guess with the Rausch beer, it's the smoked malt, correct?
Well, they're both smoked malt.
Yeah. Or I guess
So Nick's asking if this is... Yeah. I can't remember if he had that one from the tank or not.
It's the most like, this is, I need to read this in like a Delco accent. Like, yeah, it isn't Nick. It's Teresa's cousin. Don't worry, from down the street. Ask Jeremy if this is the one I tried right out of tank.
You have to say it in a Rochester, upstate New York accent, because that's where Nick lives.
It reads very Delco.
Not far off, probably.
Yeah, I was gonna say, there's that upper New York, like New England accent.
I'm Teresa's cousin. Don't worry.
No, you get a little west of the Adirondacks. It's not as New England as you think.
Yeah. Oh man, he's in Wegmans country.
Yeah.
I would say, like, with this, compared to a Rausch beer, this is very. I would say with a Rausch beer, you get it on the nose a little bit more than you do with this.
Yeah.
It's a little bit. This has a lighter smoke, I would say, than like a Rausch beer. I feel like a Rausch beer is like full body smoke. This is like light, like. I would say this is crushable smoke to me.
I feel like the smoke, like the first pour, the smoke was a lot heavier than it is now.
It's tamed as it's gotten like closer to room temperature.
Yeah, I feel like the difference for me has always been like when I have I mean, you really have to experience smoked beer in Germany compared to the States, because anything that does make it to the States is. I mean, the smoke certainly, lessens with age. I mean, when you have it in Germany, sometimes it's like liquid campfire. There's people that will complain that it's like that here in the States, but it's so assertive and aggressive in Germany. Whereas this beer, to me, is because it's not barley, it's smoked wheat, and because of the lower ABV, it's got that presence. I guess the best way I can put it is it's not like a ham sandwich. It's sort of like a cheese sandwich with a side of cured smoked bacon, a little bit of
okay.
It's not the full the full thing. Whereas like a smoked merits and a rock beer would be a full on like liquid ham sandwich, and I love that. Yeah. Like to me, that some people don't like that at all. To me, I'm all for it.
That's great. That's actually a good analysis, because I I was kind of equating something different in my head because I was thinking like Roush beers are kind of like a brat on the grill. This is like the Dollar Dog Night Glizzy. Like this is where you're just like crushing these. Like the first time I had a Grodziskie, I went, oh man, this reminds me of like hot dogs on the campfire. Like just that, like a little bit of sweetness, just a little char, a little sweetness. Like this is like a glizzy beer. I just kept calling it the glizzy beer.
I kind of like equate this to being like this. If you are absolutely 100% against smoked beer, this is a good style that would be an entry into that, because it's not full on crazy. Like, you're not scraping ash off your tongue, but there's enough smoke there where it's going to add a complexity to the beer.
And PJ, I don't know what you're talking about. Glizzy is the correct terminology.
Yeah, it's the correct nomenclature.
I'll also accept pork missile.
Name of the podcast.
We had a discussion last
Jeremy
week.
Pork Missile on.
we had a discussion last week while we were drinking the smoked alt beer, where some of the smoked beers they come across with a very like liquid smoke flavor, like that very. What do we equate it to? Bacos.
Yeah, we were thinking like, how Bacos they're really phoning in the bacon taste.
Yeah, Bacos has like a very distinct taste. It's not there he is. There he is. The number one Lars Ulrich fan in the world.
Mike Locke.
Yeah, Bacos don't taste like bacon. They're Bacos flavored.
Yeah.
And it's like a lot of
that's what liquid smoke is. It's not smoke flavored. It's just
it's liquid smoke. Yeah. So, and I feel like a lot of those beer, like I had the first smoked beer I ever had was a smoked beer de garde. And
was that Conchi?
Yeah. And it was very heavy handed with like it was a very inauthentic smoke flavor.
They just teabagged that beer with smoke flavor.
Yeah. Yeah. It was smoke flavoring. Yeah. And I feel like a lot of like that style, like any of like that, like any smoked beer gets kind of bogged down with that.
I mean, prior to the Grodziskie, the only other smoked beer I've ever had, well, obviously last week with the smoked alt beer, but like Roush beers were the only smoked beer I had prior to that. So like it was always like when the Roush beer came out for, God, I hate being a broken record, Sly Fox. I feel like I'm in my own German bubble of like like all the beers I have.
And Dan, you were directed to go to Germany and ask for a glizzy because you will get a knuckle sandwich.
I don't even know what a glizzy is. So what the fuck is a glizzy?
Hot dog.
It's just a hot dog. It's just it's a slang term for a hot dog.
I've never heard that before.
It's a Zoomer term for.
Well, I mean, I honeymooned in Iceland. They have the best hot dogs in the best glizzies in the world. So come at me with that. You ever have a glizzy made out of sheep?
We're streaming on Twitch, so we have to use the Twitch lingo.
It's Gen Z slang. It's a glizzy.
I don't even know what Gen Z is.
It's not even Gen Z slang.
I'm almost 50. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Dude, I'm 36. I'm not Gen Z.
I'm 36 and one day younger than Daniel. So.
Yeah, one day younger. That's it.
All right, so we've talked about I guess we didn't really talk about too much about your brewing history. You started out with did you start out with Neshaminy, or was it just like your longest tenure?
So I'm one of the founders and the original head brewer in Neshaminy.
Yeah.
Oh, you're one of the founders of Neshaminy.
Yeah. So Croydon. I saw that you had this is not Croydon cream ale.
I loved. I geeked out a little bit.
I giggled so hard at that when I was looking at the Untapped. I went, "Oh man!"
No, that was an Untapped killer as far as my rating is concerned. I'm not like a bird that gives a shit about that, but I just watched the fucking rating go from 4 to 3.9 because of that shit. So I mean, I don't give a fuck either way because it's I love cream ale, and if people don't get it or they don't appreciate it, that's not my fault.
I know. I mean, I had the OG like Croydon cream ale. That was a staple when my band we would have band practice, we would have a couple cans of that in the cooler all the time.
So if you've had that beer before and you've seen the artwork on that label.
Yeah, like the
You know,
lawnmower and everything.
the lawnmower and then the guy asleep on the, you know, the lawn chair.
Yeah.
So two things about that artwork. One, JP, the guy that does, the person that's responsible for all the artwork for Trauger, he did all the artwork for Neshaminy at that time. So that's where that, so the cool thing about that is that like you wouldn't know that because the Trauger artwork is so different than what he had done for Neshaminy, which I think is awesome because JP, like I said, is seriously one of the most like talented artist and graphic designers I've ever met, or I'll ever meet. He's, and we connect so in such a crazy way. Like when we have conversations about our work, it's almost like we're connected at the brain. So it's a super easy relationship to have. But then, the second thing about that is that when the Neshaminy started, my father, excuse me, this is even before in 2012 when the Neshaminy opened, you weren't allowed to sell on premise. You could only do 6-packs, bombers, whatever, growlers to go. So when we opened in our gift shop in our tasting room, because you had to do the 4-ounce pours, you couldn't, if you wanted to taste a 4-ounce pour and then get a growler fill or something to go, that's the way it had to be. So the person that ran the gift shop for the first 3 years of the brewery was my father. And so my father is not just the inspiration for us, brewing a cream ale, but like he's on the can like that,
on the chair.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's 100% my dad.
That's fucking awesome.
Is awesome and whatnot. So, when I left and everything worked out the way it did, and then also decided to do the This Is Not Croydon Fest, I was like, they're not making this beer anymore, so fuck it. I'm gonna make it. It's my beer anyway.
That's awesome. And the fact that you brought that up about JP, like I'm geeking out hard because the original can art for Shape of Hops to Come is still, I hold that in such high regard as like a Refused fan and everything. Like that was like one of my favorite like can art styles when it first came out. Just the name of the beer too. And I went, holy shit, is that for real? I remember getting
I can't claim the name.
I had it completely based on the name. Like I've never like had it before. I'm like, well, I'm getting this.
A buddy of mine, Dan, actually, we were having a conversation not long after the brewery started, and he was like, "Jeremy, you should make a super hoppy like double IPA and call it, the Shape of Hops to Come." And I was like, "Done."
Yeah, right? That's such a great name.
And one, I love that band, and then two, actually that whole story was wild because I remember, I want to say 2014, maybe it was 2000, maybe it was like June of 2015, but I want to say it was 2014. I went on I was actually at like a weird like tubing trip down to Delaware with the guys from Hunterdon Distributing in New Jersey. They used to do an annual tubing trip with Tommy Arthur from Lost Abbey, Port Brewing. He would come out for Philly Beer Weekend. They would sponsor like a company wide, and also like all these people just pile in, from Philly into this, big, rental bus and do a tubing trip to Delaware. And like at the end of it, we would get out in Lambertville and then we would go to like the Inn of the Hawk or something like that in Lambertville for beers. And like, it was pretty dope because it was, 100% on the distributor's tab. So of course you're going to eat your, stuff your face and drink as much beer as you can. But I remember I'm sitting at the bar at the end of this tubing trip, like, way too many beers deep. And I get I'm actually friends with Refused old manager. I've known Mike for a long, he's no longer their manager.
Yeah.
But they were just back to playing shows again. I get a phone call from him and I was like, why is Mike calling me? And he's like, hey man, so you guys made a beer called the Shape of Hops to Come? And I was like, oh man, this is gonna be a problem, isn't it?
It's a cease and desist.
He's like, no man, the band's totally cool with it. I'm like, really? Because like, isn't half the band like straight edge? He's like, yeah, but half the the other half doesn't really care anymore. So they're like, would you want to come to some shows on this tour? I'm like, fuck yeah, I would. So the funny thing is I ended up not being able to go to any of the shows, but then like a couple of the other guys from the brewery, they went to the show in DC and the show in New York City, and they got they were invited backstage and they're hanging out, and like the singer Dennis is like could give zero fucks about the beer.
Yeah, yeah.
Because he's still edge, and I respect the shit out of that. But like the other dudes, like
Oh,
I think it's like in particular, the drummer was like super pumped about it. Like, oh, the beer's so good, and like the artwork's amazing. Like it's so crazy you guys did this. So, but it was like I just remember getting that phone call, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be our our second cease and desist. So I have to really deal with this right now.
That's fun. Really
No, and that's one thing I always like held deep, like I always loved about Neshaminy was like the musical references and stuff like that, and like the ties to music. The anniversary parties were always banging. Like they always had a band that I loved to play, and they always did a beer for a band. Like the Lawrence Arm beer, I was like stoked on when they got.
That was a cool beer. That was a fun beer to make. And I mean, actually, I think probably my favorite beer that we made with a band was we did a pre-prohibition lager with Municipal Waste, and
oh yeah, that was the the boogie board party.
The cool thing about that too was I mean, a couple like really cool things about that beer in particular was that we did the beer, and Dave, the drummer, is like he actually works at a brewery as like I want to say a bartender in Richmond in the off when they're not touring and stuff like that. But then he had done Municipal Waste had done a bunch of collabs like with Three Floyds and a bunch of other stuff, and like when we had the conversation about it, he was like, yeah, let's not do a hoppy beer because the other guys in the band don't really give a shit about craft beer, and they don't like I'm the only one that really drinks real beer. The rest of the guys are just like, let's drink some hams and get fucked up and and drink
order a pizza.
let's slam some tequila, which I've watched them do. But then like we did the show, we did the beer, and it was like they were on tour with Napalm Death and Sick of It All. And we did the show at the brewery, and we released the beer, and like the band was like fucking blown away. They're like, this is the first collab we've done as a band where everyone in the band loves the beer. And I was like, well, because it's a pre-prohibition corn lager, man. Like it's super fucking easy.
Like it ain't more American than that.
Yeah. So I was like really pumped that the band was like super into it. Like that that's the type, and to me, that's what a collab's about. It's not just like making a beer just because the band wants to make a beer. It's like having the beer, having Dave involved and making the beer was super fun. And then like, the fact that the band was super into it was cool as shit. And like, that was the second time they had played the brewery, and like, they're all like, giant sweethearts, they're, all super, even though they're, a metal band, a thrash metal band, like
they're the most fun thrash metal.
Yeah. They're super nice guys. And I say sweethearts, it makes them feel, sound like a bunch of wimps, but like, no, they're like the chillest, nicest guys ever. And to, to do that and be able to do that, like that's, a lot of the fun of brewing and whatnot. Like, I need to get back to doing more of that. That's why the whole This Is Not Croydon, cream ale beer came about, because it was like, well, this is, the original recipe was mine, God was doing this cream ale. Like, wow, the recipe is very similar to what we were doing in the Neshaminy. We have this festival that, and
I think you had some great music for that too. I think you guys had the ska bands playing for that.
Yeah, that's specifically a ska festival. So we had the Pie Stagers headline that.
Yep.
We had Mustard Plug, who hasn't played like the East Coast in a while. They haven't played a show of that size on the East Coast in a while, and like the show sold out, so that that was obviously an added bonus. But like to be able to do it too, it was like there was like no malintent. I didn't name it like that, to kind of like give the middle finger to Chamonix. That the first two festivals that we did were actually named that way because it's named after the movie This Is England, so it was kind of like This Is Croydon, because Croydon is also a city in England. So here we are, and the whole movie This Is England has a lot to do, not all to do with skinhead and mod culture. So that was the whole basis of that. And I was like, well, we're not in Croydon anymore, and I'm not doing shows or brewing beer in Croydon. We're like, so what can we do? I was like, well, fuck it, This Is Not Croydon. Like, well, they're not doing a beer, they're not doing this beer anymore, and I want to make a beer. I want to figure out what we can do to have a beer for the fest. It was like super easy. And it was like, I like to have a little bit of fun with it. But the other side was like, well, if they're not making this beer anymore, I'm going to make it. I can't call it Croydon Cream Ale, so I'll call it This Is Not Croydon Cream Ale, because it's not Croydon Cream Ale. It's slightly different, but the recipe is not far from the original. I mean, let's not split hairs about it. I mean, cream ale is not like reinventing the wheel either. So
yeah, right. I mean, it's cream ale, and you're the Northeast. Everyone's doing a cream ale.
Yeah. I mean, at the time, like cream ale was one of the earlier beers that the Neshaminy did, and there wasn't anyone making cream ale at the time. it's
except for like Blue Collar, like was like the cream ale was like that was the after work beer. That was
yeah, exactly. That's why, that was my old man's beer. Like my old man loved Jenny. My old man loved Schaefer. That's where, my entry, I remember, being in high school, I used to sneak cans of Schaefer. My dad had a 12-pack of Schaefer behind the bar in our basement where I would just sneak cans of. And my joke, I laugh at that because after I went to college, my parents moved to Florida, and somehow that like half drank 12-pack of Schaefer ended up in the garage at my parents' house in Florida. I was like, why are you doing this? Like, I didn't have
you put it in the moving truck.
yeah, like half of it was gone anyway. I drank half of it. Why are you taking it? Just like pound that shit. But that beer is all for my dad.
Yeah, can't let Dan have all the geeking out here, because now I'm realizing that you probably brewed one of my favorite beers, and as a Delco guy, and I love everything Philly, and Jawn. Come on.
Yeah.
Jawn is like one of like that was like the first beer I was like, yo, this is named like for like a Philly thing.
Yeah. As the hop guy of the podcast, that was what a juicy ale with nugget. I was like, fuck yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean that's I can't claim that name either. The name actually came from a conversation with our buddy Mike Lawrence, who at one point was the Philly Beer Geek when they were still doing that whole thing. Mike's is a character. He's a really interesting and awesome guy. And like myself and my one partner from Neshaminy, Steve, were having a drunken conversation with Mike Lawrence. He's like, "Yeah, you guys need to, name a beer something after like Jawn, like totally, we get it." And I was like, "Yeah, I think I want to say it was me, but I'm not gonna like claim it because it was like certainly a blurry conversation where I was like, yeah, man, like juicy ale with nugget, because I love Nugget Nectar. Nugget, it's like one of my favorite beers, and
it's like, one of the best IPAs ever brewed.
Yeah, in my opinion, anyway. It's old, I'll say it's dated, but it's seriously like when Trauger started with Nugget Nectar, like who was doing that? So the intention wasn't to make a Nugget Nectar clone. I think a lot of times people would slag it for that, but it was like, no, man, this is an American pale ale with nugget. Nugget is technically, but like a ton of. Someone just actually said they still have dreams about Jawn with coffee. I'll tell you what, there was a few batches of Jawn with coffee that were like seriously fucking lights out. Like I love that version. There was a few that I didn't like. We actually, we tried a different, one of the things I feel like I've done a lot of is I've made a lot of beer with coffee. So I have a really good repertoire as far as using coffee and beer. And there was batches of Jawn with coffee that were like unbelievably good. And then there was others there were too green peppery and things I didn't really like about them. And we figured out, we got a really good feel of what we wanted from a bean, what we wanted from a roast, how to avoid some of those flavors. But like, yeah, there was definitely a couple of batches of Jawn, like, coffee Jawn, that like, again, they just rolls off the tongue because it's such an easy thing to say being from this area. Like, oh yeah, like there was people that were like really like, oh, you should make an imperial like version of Jawn and call it thick Jawn. I'm like, nah, I'm not gonna go there. Like,
what you really should have done was a collab with Wawa and done a Wawa coffee Jawn.
Except for the fact that I hate Wawa coffee.
Oh yeah, Wawa coffee stinks, but it's
all about the name.
Yeah, it goes hand in hand with Jawn.
Don't get me wrong, like I'm a Wawa guy, although like
nothing says Jawn like eating your hoagie off of the trash can lid.
I've done it. I mean, I've done it more times than I care to admit in this lifetime.
We've all been there. Yeah, we've all had that moment.
You just described half of my senior year in high school. I mean,
yeah, you watch the sweet pepper fall onto the lid, and you contemplate for a second, do I just pick it off?
You don't. There's just so much cred on the top of that thing.
You never do, but you contemplate for just for a second.
You put the 5-second rule at that, in challenge when you do that. You're like, nah.
Before they went to strips, when they had the chicken cutlet and you get the chicken parm on the Kaiser, I would just sit there with the chicken parm and the Kaiser. Oh man, right on the fucking lid.
Nugget Nectar was we've talked about it on the podcast before. It was the first hype beer. Like that was the one that was like, there was a whole release around it. You never knew.
Yeah, there was always the mystique about it.
Yeah, it was, and you would get like that. You would get the text from your buddy like, "Yo, Nugget Nectar's out at Wegmans."
Yeah.
Well, no, I was gonna say, yeah, to bring up Wegmans again because we
Yeah.
talked about it in Rochester.
There you go.
The triple tribute. Oh yeah.
That's a fun beer to make. Was never. I mean, triples in particular are some of my favorite styles. Like Westmalle is like, forget about it. I mean, I've been lucky enough to drink it in Belgium too. And to walk into a bar and have it for €3 is pretty crazy. But like triple in particular, and a lot of my love for triple in particular comes from my brother-in-law, who's like he's kind of like calmed down, but is a giant Belgian beer freak, especially saison, but like other, he really got me into that. But like Tribute Triple, one of my favorite beers we made in Neshaminy, but was always to me a challenge. I'd love to make it again, or start making triples again, because I feel like fast forward 10 years later, I have a lot more experience, particularly when it comes to making or fermenting open fermentation, which is something that I've done in Germany recently, like 3 months ago for the first time. So Weiss beer, like wheat beer, German wheat beer, Hefeweizen is for me is like my be all end all. And I kind of feel like I've hit like a gray whale goal, so to speak, where 3 months ago I brewed a single decoction, open fermented, 100% naturally carbonated, Reinheitsgebot, Weiss beer, Hefeweizen, and like I drank, and then when I went back, my last trip, I was sitting in the beer garden at the family restaurant drinking it, and I was just like, oh, okay, I've been a professional brewer for 17 years now, and I'm just like, if you would have told me 17 years ago that I would brew a single decoction, open fermentation, naturally carbonated, purity law beer in Germany, that I'm drinking it in a beer garden, I'm like, you're crazy. Like you're but I'm like sitting there drinking half liter, in a true Weiss beer glass, and I'm like, I will literally sit here all day and try to finish this keg, because if I die, like I know I'm gonna die a very happy and satisfied person in life.
Oh yeah, that's the final beer right there.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, to me, it's the funny thing is the brewer that was all born from like my boss's, mom and dad, were like, oh, can you make a wheat beer? And I'm like, yeah, why aren't we making wheat beer? We do open fermentation. This is dumb. Like, why are you buying, wheat beer from this brewery in Bavaria? Like we can do this. This is super easy. And my boss is like, it's easy. I'm like, fuck yeah, it's easy. Let's do it. I mean, I say that because, that's the first beer I ever made as a home brewer, and it's a beer that a style that I care a lot about. And like I said, I've made it a million different ways, but I finally have hit that, that end goal of like doing it as a decoction mash, doing it as 100% open fermentation, naturally carbonated, because we have to use natural carbonation in Germany. All these things that make that beer really what it is. It's like you go to Trauger's, you go to the open fermentation room where they ferment Dreamweaver, and it's just like, to see that is like, damn, like that's an awesome beer. And it's like, I don't think people, the Haze boys these days don't appreciate how hard it is to make a beer like that. Like, it's not a sexy or cool beer anymore, but like that beer is fucking hard to make. You're not going to make a beer like that just by throwing, fucking 5-6 pounds per barrel of dry hop on it and think it's, do this or do that. Like it's not the same. Dude, and again, I like those beers. I drink a lot of them. I mean, Tom, you saw there was 5 cans of True and in the refrigerator at
Tom got pissed. You didn't
I thought about it. I thought about it.
Yes, I would have told you to take 2 of them.
Yeah, Haze boy right here, just like salivating about it. It's always sold out before I get to it.
I might know a dude that knows a dude. Or I just might know the dude.
I was turning cans, and I was like, maybe it's probably the unlabeled, but let me turn this one. And it's like red Troon label, and I was like, let me try the white Troon label. I'm like, all right.
He's flexing. He's like, I put the crowlers in there next to all my Troons.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pump it, but one of the dudes from Troon just texted me. He's like, you can have more if you want.
Oh, he's watching this, right?
I think one of the dudes is, yeah.
Some guy wearing a fedora is punching the air right now.
I mean, like, so like I've been lucky after I left Neshaminy, I actually was this whole journey of alcohol. Actually, I started off as a home distiller way back in the day, and I came back full circle to it. So when I left Neshaminy, I actually took a job as the head distiller at a distillery in Hopewell called Sourland Mountains, which just happens to be right next to Troon. So I would sit there at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right before COVID hit was the funniest times. Actually, I'd sit there, like there would be dudes that would just line up, in the parking lot, or not line up, I would park in the parking lot at 3 o'clock, and I'd like walk over to the office, and they'd say, you roll down their window, like, hey, yo, come here for a second. Do you think they're gonna release today? I'm like, maybe. I was like, we were 7 days from the last one, so you're probably pretty good on that. I'm like, yeah, man, whatever. I mean, you know what you need to do.
Yeah.
And then like
his license plate says my other car is at Treehouse.
Yeah. Some guy with a treehouse snapback just rolling down the window.
I love those guys. They're so fun. I mean, like, I love brewers that take their art so seriously, take what they do so seriously, but then like when they see the way people act about their beer, like they take it, I don't want to say not seriously, but they're just like, really?
You have to laugh at the dudes.
I mean, if I casually just send my address to you, send those in.
Hey guys, we brew on a 1/4 barrel system.
Well, they're on a 7-barrel system, but with the way they drive their beers, they hop their beers.
The joke was a 1/4 barrel system.
They're just not going to get when you're using the amount of hops that they use and the hops that they use, on a 7-barrel system. I love seeing the comments on their Instagram, which is like, why don't you guys make more? And it's like, do you think that they don't want to make more? Like, do you see the line that's outside their brewery? Do you think they're not seeing stuff? We could probably sell an extra 200 or 300, 400 tons of this shit.
Are the ferment? It's 7 barrels. Is it 7-barrel ferment?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're not double batching in those.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
They kind of have a thing going for them.
I mean, I'll be honest. Like, so I'm in my basement right now, and I'm almost certain that my basement is bigger than their brewery.
It's like there's a reason, like one of our buddies who will remain nameless, if you want to figure it out, go back and listen to our episodes, but our one buddy was like, he's in close proximity to Troon, he'll go and buy Troon, and he'll buy like 2 crowlers, and he'll put one online, and it'll sell for like $300.
Which is, if people want to buy beer like for that,
yeah,
I'm never in a question. I don't agree with it. I don't think it makes sense. I've never been one of those.
I don't think it does either. Like,
especially crowlers.
Like I've thought about putting my feet on the internet to try and make money, but man, like beer makes $300. I'm like, all right.
You're getting
shit about that is, especially here in the States now with like over 9,000 breweries, is that there's got to be a brewery in proximity that is making equally as good beer. Maybe it's not.
That's always the argument.
Yes,
like, yes, there's so much a concentration of breweries like now. Like exclusivity is like, I don't know, like how it's still a thing with how much beer is being pumped out. Especially, I mean, it must be just our bubble in Pennsylvania because we have a ton of breweries.
I mean, this area is great for that. We have so many awesome breweries.
Yeah, exactly. And then like Jersey, it with the size of the state itself has just a concentration as well.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All right, let's wrap this thing up. We went a little long, but when you're having good conversation, you just go a little long.
When you're drinking a glizzy, man, sometimes
you drink a hot dog. Although I can tell you how, because I've made beer. I've made beer with ham or bacon, and there's Neshaminy also made a beer with hot dogs too. So there you go. But they were Sheets hot dogs, so
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well,
yeah.
You don't get the Sheets ones.
Yeah,
they're MTO. You have to have the ones that just go in the plastic. They go in the plastic clamshell that sit there for a couple hours at Wawa.
Yeah. I mean, we've all been there.
Quarter pound beef.
Jeremy, thank you very much for coming
thanks
on.
A lot, man. This has been a ton of fun.
I feel like we need to have Jeremy on again at some point just to like finish up the questions that we had.
I know we had so many more questions, but we riffed hard on this episode.
We do one when I'm in Germany, so that it'll be like
it'll be
4 in the morning, so I can like show up to the brewery, have half in the bag before I even get there.
Reigenstappenbach.
I mean, I've done.
I'm still talking like the Swedish chef.
Yeah.
I've done multiple, conference calls and Zoom meetings at like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I try not to do them all that often, but I've done more than I'm, than I care to admit. But like, I'll do it. You guys want to do it? Let's grab another brewer, and have me like phone in, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, half shit faced, and start just be belligerent. And I'll do it all in German, so that would be funnier.
Thank you, Egregious Gamer, for enjoying the podcast.
Yeah, for sticking around.
That.
Yeah, great comments.
Yeah, so Jeremy, again, we'll have to do this again at some point. There's so many unanswered questions that we have for you.
Cool.
We're a very lager heavy podcast. So
an old Pennsylvania brewery once said to me, or brewer said to me once, in lager there's life. So being a podcast and PA and saying that, it makes sense, because that's the way it should be.
I always tell Dan, live in La Vida Lager. So along the same lines.
drinking all those hazies, you can only get diabetes once, man.
You got 2 feet to lose. It's fine. 10 toes.
Gout's a bitch, man. Trust me.
Right. Swollen toes over here.
Again, guys, follow Jeremy at Trauger Brewing.
Yep.
Follow his journey of
website is also traugerbrewing.com.
Yes.
If you want to his paragraph has been echoing. I've just been like, German purity law. Like I made every joke possible leading up to this.
Reinheitsgebot or whatever.
I was like, oh, he can't get his webcam to work. It's because of German purity law.
Rausch Bierenbot.
It was the GDPR protection. That's the German. I couldn't get through the gate, the gateway or the firewall, rather.
Yeah, it was the Jim Adams of Germany.
And look,
my personal Instagram as well, which is like, if you want to see dumb pictures of open fermentation and all this other stupid stuff, is at Fermented World on Instagram.
Yeah, Fermented World. Yes.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. Egregious Gamer, thank you. Have a good one. Thanks for sticking around. All right, guys. Usual stuff. Follow, rate, review, yada yada yada. It was at the top of the podcast. July 26th, we're going to be on the rooftop at Victory Beer.
Rooftop at Victory Beer, July 26th. Guys, come on out, grab a chair.
It's at the top of the podcast.
What happened?
What
just happened?
I don't know. My computer's probably slow as shit.
Okay. It started like saying whatever you were saying. Like,
I was like, why am I talking to myself?
There was a weird feedback loop there for a second.
That was awesome.
All right, July 26th. We're gonna be at Victory Beer in Philly.
We're gonna be hanging out with Richie. If you haven't visited Victory Philly and what he's doing at Victory Philly with their small system, I mean, we mentioned 7-barrel system already. So
he did a Maibock himself. That we got pigtailed. We got pigtailed, and it was good.
Delish.
Guys, follow our Instagram, Facebook, Instagram. What's our social media, Dan?
Our social media is at Best Friends Pod. That's Best Friends POD. Come on, Tom.
I'm just gonna turn it on. I don't want to blow out any speakers.
Just one more POD drop, right?
That was our first of the night.
I know. I can't believe that was our first of the night. Guys, send us an email too if you're interested in coming on the podcast. If you are a brewer and want to come on the podcast, if you are Troon and you're still listening to this and you want to come on the podcast and send me beer so I can drink it, thank you very much. Send us an email. That's bestfriendspod@gmail.com. That's bestfriendspod.
Guys, thanks for hanging out with us. Facebook, YouTube, especially Twitch. Twitch is the best place to watch us. We're working on doing more.
We're working on some additional streams.
Yeah, and
I tried to open the Twitch stream, and for some reason it said you don't have a machine to do that. I was like, what?
It's because you're using a compact Presario.
Before, so
maybe it's time to trade in the old Gateway.
But it's got cow colors on it. Follow us. Check us out on Twitch. Twitch.tv/bestfriendspod. Twitch.tv/bestfriendspod. I feel so alive for the very first And I think I can fly. Yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you for joining us. Follow Trauger Beer,
Check out the
Trauger Brewing.
website.
Yeah, everything. Yeah, go check out the beers that he's doing. Go up to Broken Goblet, buy some of their beer. You will not be disappointed. Dan, you know how I feel about you.
I love you. Always have.
All right, everybody. It's not goodbye forever. It's just
Goodbye for now. I'm not the type to say I told you so.
all right, everybody. Enjoy this 2-hour podcast.
Wow, it's been a while since we've done a 2-hour one.
It's been a while.
It's been a while.
All right, one butt rock band at a time.
Yeah, it's a lot of 90s butt rack in there or 2000.
We're just stuffing all that 2000s butt rock into the end here.
Best Friends Pod Turbo. All right, everybody. Always remember, keep it in the back of your mind. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. That was the Clinton family. Best Friends Podcast episode.
Tom's going to die on that hill.
I'm going to die on that hill. I don't want people to ever forget. It's Best Friends Podcast episode 119.
Oh, wow. I was going to say 117. Okay, cool. 119.
Yeah. 119.
We out.
See you. All right. We're out of
Later, guys.
stream. Thank you guys for joining us. Have a good one. See you next week.